Recently, Chris Pratt had an interview with Screen Rant about the sequel to the Super Mario Bros. Movie. By the way, check out my review after watching this video. Not only did he talk about the sequel, but he also commented that this could just be the beginning of a Nintendo cinematic universe. He says, quote, "Oh man, there's so much to explore. There are decades worth of games to explore, not only with Mario and Peach and Donkey Kong and Luigi and Bowser and Yoshi, that was teased at the end, but it just gets me so excited. I was such a Nintendo head growing up, so just thinking about how everything from Legend of Zelda to the entire Nintendo Cinematic Universe could be created and what that could look like for all the characters that I love. I mean, there's really no limit. We could talk about it for hours." Unquote. This got me thinking that he's right. There is a vast library of franchises for Nintendo that could have their own movie. While I was more of a PlayStation kid growing up, I still loved Nintendo and would play their games whenever I was hanging out with friends who had their consoles. While Mario may be the mascot of the company, other games are just as loved, if not more, by Nintendo. That said, though, which ones deserve their own movie? Today, I will talk about my picks for Nintendo franchises that should get a movie in the near future. As always, these are only my thoughts on the franchises from Nintendo that deserve it. This list isn't in any particular order, it's just me naming franchises that I think deserve a movie. Also, I'm excluding anything directly related to Mario, so Donkey Kong and Yoshi won't be talked about in this video. I'm also excluding Pokemon because we got several animated Pokemon movies like Pokemon the first movie in 1998 and Detective Pikachu in 2019. With all that out of the way, let's jump into my first suggestion, Metroid. In 1986, Metroid came out on the NES and greatly impacted gaming history. The original game had you play as Samus, a faceless character fighting aliens and trying to survive. However, the ending caught people off guard, revealing that Samus was a woman the whole time. I know it's the norm today to have inclusion in media, but back then, it wasn't a regular thing to care about having a variety of heroes in stories. What's better, in my opinion, was that the only reason Samus was a woman was that, according to the creators, it was the biggest way to surprise players. In an interview with Nintendo, Sakamoto, the game's director, and Kiyotake, the character designer, explained how they decided to make Samus a woman. Sakamoto: "Once we entered the final stage of development, we started talking about having different endings, depending on how long it took players to clear the game. We wanted to prepare a reward for people who cleared it more quickly." Kiyotake: "We wondered what would surprise everyone and talked about removing Samus's helmet." Sakamoto: "Then someone said it would be a shocker if Samus turned out to be a woman, and everyone thought that would be interesting and wanted to do it, so we decided it right away." While there isn't any special meaning besides surprising players, it doesn't change the fact Samus still had the impact she had. It still sent the message that the main hero could be a woman instead of some guy who looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone. I think it's a great idea to have a Metroid movie because it's a beloved series and an example of how to do representation right. Instead of gender swapping characters, like when they remade Ghostbusters with the crew as females, Samus was an original character. She wasn't a gender swap of a previous character like Han Solo from Star Wars or Captain Kirk from Star Trek. Also, Nintendo knows it takes more than making the main cast females to make a great story, unlike the creators of the female Ghostbusters movie.
And perhaps more importantly, it tries and fails to improve on the original without really understanding what made it so effective in the first place. Bad scriptwriting combined with questionable performances and complete disrespect for the audience made this film inferior to the 1984 version in virtually every way possible.
You know, it's actually sad that the world was better at representation before everyone started trying to be inclusive. However, that's a video for another day. My point is that Metroid is one of the series that deserves its own movie in the Nintendo Cinematic Universe. Also, as I said earlier, Metroid is an example of how to do representation, and I'm sure Nintendo will ensure the movie is held to the same standards fans expect from the Metroid series. Also, I'd prefer if people finally saw how to make better stories about female heroes than crap like Ghostbusters 2016. Please, Nintendo, I beg you, show the world how to do that so we can stop getting crappy films like that. Plus, I'm sick of the excuse that it's sexism making these movies fail, and I'm sure a Metroid film would be enough of a hit to show that's no longer an acceptable excuse. Moving on, my next suggestion for a Nintendo movie is Star Fox. As you can tell, I'm a fan of sci-fi. I even wrote a science fiction book, which you can get on Amazon. Anyway, being a fan of the genre was one of the things that drew me to Star Fox. Also, I love foxes, which is another reason the main character for my book is named Roxy Kitsune. And with that, I promise to stop talking about my book for the rest of the video. Now, I'll go back to talking about why Star Fox deserves a movie. While the story hasn't progressed since Star Fox Assault in 2005, Nintendo has continued remaking the games, such as Star Fox 64 3D on the 3DS and Star Fox Zero on the Wii U. Granted, I think fans would prefer the story moving forward instead of going back, but if Nintendo doesn't know how to move forward, why not take this chance to move back and show how the series started in the first place with a movie? I know there's a comic that shows the backstory of Star Fox, but a movie is a great way to introduce a new generation of fans to one of Nintendo's most popular series. Plus, if anyone was unaware of the comic, which I was, it could serve as a way to see how everything started. On top of all that, Star Fox can financially be a hit not just for movie tickets, but also for merchandise. Let me ask everyone a question. If Nintendo let a Star Fox movie happen and made merchandise such as plushies of the characters to sell to promote the film, how many of you would buy those? Chances are a bunch of you would, and Nintendo knows that. So why not take advantage of that and make things like plushies and toys to go with releasing a Star Fox movie? I know a lot of people will say it should be more about the movie's quality than whether it can make a lot of money. For the record, I agree with that 100%. However, I'm already sure a Star Fox film would be good if Nintendo decided to create one. I'm just giving more reasons why a Star Fox movie should happen because I really want to see one. I could go on naming other franchises, but my next one is my last. While there are other properties I can argue to deserve their own movie, the previous two and my final one are the most deserving. Chances are you already know what the last one is, and for good reason. That series is, of course, The Legend of Zelda. Of all the Nintendo series, The Legend of Zelda is one of the only ones that rivals Mario in popularity. Fans have even debated which of the two is better, and chances are the debate will continue in cinema, which is even more of a reason to make a Legend of Zelda movie. Regarding the story, most fans agree that the Legend of Zelda series has that over the Mario series. While most Mario games involve the same thing, Bowser kidnaps Peach and Mario has to save her, Legend of Zelda has various stories throughout the series. There are games where you had to stop Ganon like the original, but there are also games like Majora's Mask where you had to stop the moon from falling and destroying the world. Another thing about the Legend of Zelda series is that it can be dark, whereas Mario has always been cheerful and happy. That's not to say that just being dark makes you better, it means that the story from The Legend of Zelda can vary depending on what the creators want to do. It's even more exciting to think about what a Legend of Zelda movie would be, since it can be many things. It could be the classic story of Link having to stop Ganon, similar to Ocarina of Time. Maybe it's a darker story similar to what we saw in Majora's Mask. Or maybe it's something completely new that fans weren't expecting to see. That's what makes the idea of a movie based on a game series so great. Either way, we know that whatever the story is, Nintendo will ensure that it's a story fans love. And even though I bet a bunch of critics will still cry about it like they did the Mario movie, Nintendo knows it's the fans wanting this and would put them first when making a Legend of Zelda movie. All that is why The Legend of Zelda is the one series that deserves a movie more than any other Nintendo series. And that's it for the video. Like I said, I could go on, but I thought it would be better to have a separate video if anyone was interested. I'm also considering doing a similar video for Sega, since there are also movies I like to see that are based on their franchises. Until then, I'm more curious about what all of you think. Would you like Nintendo to make any of these movies? Do you have other suggestions that weren't in my video? Let me know all that in the comments. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to see more of my content in the future. I'm Marco Strange. Stay safe, stay strange.